Hey guys, Eric Hermanson. I'm here to do the sermon recap from last week's sermon in the parable of the weeds. And I hope you guys are enjoying your group study. It is so important to have this kind of community in our lives, especially as Christians. And even as we look at the parable that we're talking about today, man, we can see that groups allow us to look at one another and see really who are the good seeds and who are the bad seeds and what it looks like to be a part of what God is doing on this earth, and how He uses one another to grow us. And so let's talk about the parable of the weeds. This is Jesus' second parable that we are studying in the book of Matthew, chapter 13. Jesus has started to share parables, which are really lessons in life that pair alongside something in life to explain about the kingdom of heaven and the mission of Jesus. And so the reason that Jesus starts speaking in parables is because the Jewish people have clearly rejected him as the Messiah, and this is part of God's judgment on the Jewish people for rejecting the Messiah. And so if those who are going to start following him and want to pursue him, they're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. And so today we are looking at the parable of the weeds. And so this is one of 2 of 38 parables that Jesus teaches, that Jesus actually explains. And so I hope that you saw that in verses 24 through 30, Jesus tells this parable, and then verses 36 through 43, he actually explains the parable. And so as he explains it, it's quite simple. We see that there's the field, which is the world, and there's the one who sows the good seed, which is Jesus. There's the one who sows the weeds, which is the devil. And we see these 2 seeds grow up together, and the weeds are the unbeliever. We see the harvest, which is the end of the age, which is the second coming, and we see the reapers, which are the angels. And then we see the fire, which is the final judgment. And so pretty easy to understand, and you have some really good group discussion questions, and we see that we are surrounded by evil. There is good seed, there is bad seed. And the thing that I just want to point out is, as I've looked at this parable before, and I'm sure you have as well, the thing that has stood out to me anytime I've read it is, man, anybody who's grown a garden or been a farmer or anything like that, you just, man, when you have weeds, you just pull them up right away. Like, why would Jesus allow for these 2 things to grow together? And the one thing that was really fun in studying this was, in fact, learning about this kind of weed that the devil sowed. It's in other translations, it's called a tare. And if you translate this word tare back to the original language of Greek, Jesus, in fact, is talking about a specific kind of plant, which is called a darnel. And this was fun to learn about. And let me just give you a simple Wikipedia definition of what a darnel is. And so we'll see kind of the similarity between the wheat and the tare. Here it is. A darnel usually grows in the same production zones as wheat and was a serious weed of cultivation until modern sorting machines enabled darnel seeds to be separated effectively from seed wheat. The similarity between these 2 plants is so great that in some regions, darnel is referred to as false wheat. And so the reason that you do not pull up the darnel amongst the wheat in this culture is because you are at risk of destroying the good seed. And the thing that is interesting about darnel is darnel and wheat could not be safely separated when they were growing next to each other because they look so similar. It wasn't until they actually grew their fruit that you could tell the difference between the weed and the wheat. And so that's one interesting thing. The other reason why you couldn't pull up the darnel amongst the wheat is because the darnel would actually intertwine its root system amongst the wheat. That's crazy. And the other reason that you actually had to separate these 2, like you couldn't harvest them. I mean, obviously Jesus is saying we're going to harvest these together, but the reason they had to be separated. So there's this separation that Jesus is telling us is going to happen at some point at the end. The reason is because the the darnel is poisonous. If any darnel got into the harvest, it would be poisonous. And so there's a really cool just illustration between these two things, these pairings, this parable. It's pretty fun to think about. And so I really wanted to just show you guys how the darnel and really the weed and what we're talking about and the similarities. I think it will show a lot of insight into what we're talking about today. So I hope that you will have a good discussion and really find that this parable provides deep insight into who we are, who God is, his second coming, his final judgment, and the fact that it's really hard. In fact, it's not our job to judge one another. It's God's job, and it's actually really hard, and so we don't have to worry about that. We need to worry about ourselves and how God is growing us into be people who bear good fruit. Guys, I hope you're bearing good fruit. I hope you're abiding in Christ as he flows through you, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic conversation around this text. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of a group. Thank you, group hosts, for opening your home and allowing people to come. I know it's not always convenient. It's not always easy, but it is a true gift. It is a true gift for anyone who's a part of it. So just want to say thank you guys for listening, and God bless.